Number 3. Just a few days ago, my friends and I came across an old insane asylum. We sat outside for a while drinking a few beers. As we sat against the fence, a friend of mine named Chris was telling us about a story about a man who brutally murdered his wife and claimed that a demonic being named Hassan had done it and framed him for the murder. This man's name was Gregory Stone, and he was put into the asylum back in 1978. Despite the rumors of it being haunted and the no trespassing sign that sat against the fence, we went inside anyway. We were all wandering through the building together until I separated myself from the other guys. I know I probably should have stayed with them, but I didn't believe in ghosts or anything like that, so I figured that I would be fine exploring by myself. I found a room that had a bunch of old things. There was a desk with a chair still in place. There were cabinets, each with a single letter stuck to them. It must have been somebody's office or something. There was an envelope on an old desk that was labeled the Harley case. The whole purpose of us wandering through the asylum was to find something interesting enough to take back home and prove to everyone that we were man enough to enter the asylum. I opened the envelope and pulled out a cassette tape and a stack of papers. One of them had a drawing. The drawing was some creepy man-looking thing, dated July 12th, 1978. I noticed an old tape recorder that sat near the edge of the desk. I picked it up, surprised that it still worked. I dusted it off and put in the tape, which was labeled Stone Session. The sound wasn't great, but I was able to make out the words without any problems.
How are you today?
I'm miraculous, Dr. Norman.
That's great. Now, let's get started. Do you recall who Harley Stone is?
Why, yes, Dr. Norman. She's Greg's wife.
Do you know what happened to Harley?
She was murdered, Doctor.
Do you know who murdered her?
Sure I do. It was Hassan.
Are you sure it was Hassan? Why would Hassan want to hurt Harley?
Hassan didn't like Harley, Dr. Norman. He always talked about either ripping her head off or blowing her brains out.
Well, why didn't you tell anybody?
Because he said he'd kill me if I did. He said he'd kill everybody.
There was 8 minutes of complete silence here for some reason.
Do you know your name?
Of course I do.
Can you tell me your name?
Marie.
Can you tell me about Hassan?
I don't like talking about Hassan.
Please, it would really help me out.
Well, only since you're cute. He's a very bad man, Dr. Norman. He's not human. He's a demon.
What does he look like?
He's really creepy, Dr. Norman. He has long dark hair. He has scars on his face and his eyes are black. If you stare into them, you'd see your worst fears and they'll all come true. That's what scares me the most about him.
Is he here now?
He's always here, Dr. Norman. He's always watching.
Where is he? Why can't I see him?
He's right over there. He's watching you, Dr. Norman. Not everybody sees him, but he's always there. Always watching.
Can you talk to him? Well, can you ask him why he's so angry? Why he killed Harley?
That's a bad word, Hassan. You should never say that.
What did he say?
He said that Harley was a bitch, and that she had it coming for an awful long time.
There was a few minutes of silence here.
What are you drawing, Dr. Norman?
I'm writing some important information down.
What kind of important information?
It's confidential.
Well, can I draw?
Only if you tell me everything I want to know.
It's a deal, Dr. Norman.
Did you murder Harley?
Of course not. She was my best friend.
Well, Victor told me yesterday that you and Gregory were having an affair. Is that true?
Excuse my language, Doctor, but Victor is a piece of shit.
So, it isn't true then?
Maybe there was one time, but that doesn't mean anything.
So, you didn't murder Harley out of pure jealousy?
I would never. It was Hassan. I saw him.
There's no need to cry. I believe you. Now, do you know where you are?
I'm at home. I'm always at home.
You're not at home anymore. You haven't been home in weeks.
If I'm not at home, then where am I?
You're in a psychiatric institution.
Why am I here? I don't belong here.
You're here because you have problems that you...
Done. Do you want to see my drawing?
I'd love to.
Do you like it?
It's wonderful. What is it?
It's Hassan. What he really, really looks like.
Well, I guess you weren't lying when you said he was creepy.
I'm going to put his name on it, so that now everybody knows what he looks like. And that I'm not crazy. I'm not crazy, am I, Dr. Norman?
I think it's time to speak to Victor. Is that okay with you?
I guess so.
The tape then cut to a conversation with Dr. Norman and Victor.
How are you today, Victor?
What's it to you, Doc?
Is something bothering you?
What ain't bothering me? This place is a living hell. It smells like piss. The people here are fucking strange, and I just want to go home, you know?
Do you know why you're here?
We're all here because of that piece of shit Hassan. You know, he came to me and asked me to whack that chick.
What did you tell him?
I told him I was done with that type of work. I've been out of that business for a long time.
Answer me this question, and I want an honest answer. Do you think you belong here?
Hell no. Listen, I ain't no crazy person, Doc. I may have a few bodies myself, but that came with the business. I did everything Boss told me to do.
What business do you speak of?
You know. I was a part of a certain family. I was a mobster, a gangster, a damn good one too.
No, you weren't.
Pardon me?
You were never part of any gang or mob in your life. You haven't killed a single person. You were a car salesman, and you belong here, Victor. Just as much as everybody else here.
Let me tell you a story, Doc. And this is how I know you're bullshitting me. There was a friend of mine back in 1922. He was a chatterbox, never would shut up about anything. You know what I did to him? You know how I got him to shut up?
What did you do?
Buon anima.
I'm sorry, but I'm not familiar with that word.
It means I fucking killed him. I put a bullet in his head and I threw him in a ditch. I picked up his fucking brains and I fed him to my dog. That's how I know you're fucking bullshitting me, Doc. If you want proof, I can show you to his rotting corpse because I'm sure it's still down there.
Do you want to know why you belong here, Victor?
I will love to know, Doc. And this better be good because I don't like my time being wasted.
You were born in 1941. May 22nd, 1941.
Did you need something, Doctor?
I ain't no crazy person, do you hear? I know when I was born. You can't bullshit me.
Show Mr. Stone to his cell. We'll continue the session in an hour or two.
I'll rip your fucking head off. I ain't no crazy person. I worked with Al Capone.
You could hear Victor screaming all the way down to his cell as it echoed through the recorder. The tape then stopped, as that was the end of Side A. It lasted over 30 minutes, and I was so hooked on listening to the tape that I guess I didn't even hear my friends calling out for me. I got a text from one of them saying that they had already left the building. For some reason, I thought I was back home. I texted back and said I was fine and flipped the tape around to side B.
How are you feeling, Mr. Stone?
I'm stuck in a mental institution and everybody thinks I killed my wife. How do you think I feel?
Well, if you didn't do it, who did?
I already told you who did it. It was Hassan.
Tell me more about Hassan.
I've already told you enough.
What is your relationship with Hassan?
We were friends up until he killed my wife.
Can you be honest with me? Is Hassan really real? Did you make him up?
Why the fuck will I make him up? I'm a 37-year-old man.
Why can't anyone else see him?
I'm not the only one. Stephen sees him too. As does Victor.
Who's Stephen? I've never met Stephen before.
He's a friend of mine.
Can I speak to him?
What the fuck for?
Never mind then. Let's talk about your mother. Do you know where she is right now?
She's in hospital.
Do you know why she's in the hospital?
Because somebody tried to kill her.
Do you know who tried to kill her?
If I had to guess, it was Hassan.
Why would Hassan want to kill your mother?
The same reason he killed my wife, if I had to guess.
Are you sure he killed your wife?
I'm done talking about my wife.
Are you sure he killed your wife? Think about it, Mr. Stone.
I said I'm done talking about my wife, Doctor.
Do you want some more time in the White Room?
Fuck you.
You can make this easier for yourself, Greg. All you have to do is remember.
Remember what?
You have a problem, Greg. I just want to help you with it. Now, I've been playing along with you for too long. It's time for you to remember.
What the hell are you talking about?
Sit back in your chair, close your eyes, and just take a deep breath. Try to remember.
What am I supposed to remember? What the hell is going on here?
Just keep your eyes closed, Greg.
I don't feel right. What the hell is going on?
It's just a simple pill to help you gain control of your mind. You've been losing yourself, Greg. You're slipping away, and everyone who loves you is worried about you.
Everybody like who? Harley? Where the hell is my wife?
Calm down, Greg. Your wife is dead, remember?
She isn't dead. She's talking to me right now. She's always talking to me. She never shuts up.
What is she saying?
She says that you're trying to kill her. If you touch my wife, I swear to holy God, I will fucking kill you.
Just keep quiet, Greg, and close your eyes. Let your mind relax.
There was about 5 minutes of silence.
Greg? Open your eyes, Mr. Stone. Now, who killed your wife?
My wife ain't dead, Doc.
Victor? Am I speaking to Victor?
Ain't nobody else in the room, Doc, except for Hassan, but... Oh, that's right. You can't see him.
I wasn't done speaking to Greg. May I speak to him, please?
Greg is asleep, Doc. It's only me now.
Do you remember our last conversation, Victor?
You mean when you try to convince me that I'm a crazy person? How could I forget?
You told me that Hassan killed Greg's wife. Are you sure about that?
What the fuck do you mean, am I sure? I saw him kill her. I saw him chop her up into pieces. I saw the blood pour out of her head as he chopped it off. We all saw him do it, Doc.
Who is we?
The people I live with, Doc. That annoying bitch Marie, Greg, and Steven.
What if I told you Hassan isn't real?
You're always trying to bullshit me, Doc. It ain't gonna happen. I see Hassan. He's looking right at you, and he doesn't like what you're saying.
What exactly is he doing?
He has a knife, Doc. And he's itching closer. He's gonna rip your fucking head off, Doc.
Calm down now, Victor. You don't want time in the White Room, do you?
You know something, Doc? You're a real piece of shit. You go around and you tell people that they're crazy when really, you're the only one who can see them. Now let that sink in, Doc.
Tell me this, Greg. Why won't you remember?
You just called me Greg. My name isn't Greg.
Oh, I'm sorry, Victor. Can you tell me about Steven?
Steven is a bit on the weird side. He doesn't talk much.
Can I speak to him?
He isn't here right now. He's never here. He's probably out walking the streets like the crazy fucking drunk he is. If anybody belongs here, Doc, it's him. Even if he was here, he wouldn't speak to you. He don't speak to anybody.
How's your wife, Victor?
She's great. Hey, you want to hear the story of how we met?
I'd love to.
It was back in 1922 after I threw that fuck in the ditch. She was a friend of a friend, and he introduced me to her. I'm telling you, Doc, she couldn't keep her eyes off me. I met her again the next day, and again after that. Eventually, we were inseparable. If that ain't love, Doc, then I don't know what is.
That's a beautiful story, Victor.
You're damn right it is. She's the reason why I got out of that business. She was so scared that one day I'd end up in a ditch with bullet holes all in my body. I wasn't having that, Doc. I got out of that business real quick.
Well, it's getting late, and the session is almost over. Can you do something for me, Victor?
It depends.
Can you sit back in your chair and close your eyes?
What the hell for?
Just an experiment. Close your eyes and take a deep breath. Try to remember.
Remember what? I ain't no lab rat, Doc.
All you have to do is lay back, close your eyes, and relax. I promise nothing will happen to you.
5 minutes of silence.
Victor? Greg? You can open your eyes now. Mr. Stone, who killed your wife?
What?
Your wife, Greg. Who killed her?
I don't have a wife. I never did.
That's great, Greg. You're showing some progress. Now, tell me why you're here.
Because I suffer from a personality disorder and I almost killed my mother.
Do you know the names of your other personalities?
Well, there's Marie, Steven, Victor, and Harley.
That's good. Now, who is Hassan?
He's that creepy fucking guy over there.
Okay. I think we're done with today's session. Johnny here will show you to your room. That concludes Session 4 of mental patient Gregory Stone, who suffers from dissociative identity disorder. The next session will occur on another date, which is to be determined.
The tape then stopped. I was confused afterwards because I recalled my friend Chris telling me that he was put into the asylum for murdering his wife and blaming it on a demon named Hassan. But apparently his wife never existed. I don't know about Hassan though. Maybe Gregory Stone was really dealing with evil spirits, or maybe he was just another person losing control of his mind. I don't know what really happened in that asylum, but I do know that I will never walk in there again. I grabbed the tape and the drawing and left the room. As I walked out, I had this creepy, unsettling feeling that something was just behind me, something watching me. Number 2. Last year, a friend of mine was getting a small business set up doing ghost walks of an abandoned Victorian mental asylum called Cane Hill. The amount of legalities involved caused it to be a long-winded process that sadly never came to fruition. Perhaps this was for the best. Due to the state of the building, only certain parts could be used for his planned ghost walk. Fire set by the locals had destroyed some parts, and other parts were unsafe structurally, which was a shame, as some really interesting areas were off limits. However, some of the wards and patient rooms were very much fine, albeit overgrown and in some state of disrepair. I've never been one for the paranormal, and the hospital didn't really freak me out. Ironically, my friend, the Ghost Walk tour guide, was creeped out by the place and wouldn't go there alone. I was admittedly taking the piss out of him a lot for it. Basically, every time we went there, I would make him jump or freak out, pretend to be possessed, or tell him that I could hear voices, etc. One evening, I got him worse than I had ever done before. I hid underneath a bed just as he turned his back. He genuinely thought something had spirited me away and near enough wet himself. When I revealed myself, I felt kind of bad, as he was in tears. He then challenged me to spend a few hours that evening in the hospital alone, betting that I couldn't. I accepted. I am terrible for betting. I got to about 6 p.m., and it was rapidly getting dark, and Tom, my friend, was leaving.
Try not to shit your pants too much tonight, gay boy,
he said before getting into his car. Yeah, bye. Try not to shit your pants at every little noise you hear, I replied. He smirked as he drove off. Made my way back inside. I had a near fully charged phone with me. Good signal for both calls and internet, so I was relatively happy. It got to about 8 p.m., and it had been quiet when I heard a voice.
Hello?
From somewhere in the room. Admittedly, I near enough shat myself. I froze in place.
Hello?
It croaked again. Hello? I replied.
What are you doing here?
It said. The voice contained a hint of a threat. I was still pretty much shitting myself, and then I noticed it. A small intercom panel on the wall, opposite to me, above head level, but in the direction the voice was coming from. That fucker, I thought to myself. I was impressed. Tom was clearly testing this out for his tours. I thought I'd play along. No doubt, he had invented some insane character to freak me out with. In all fairness, he was trying to develop a genuine experience for his business, and I wanted him to succeed. Me and Tom began conversing. He told me how he had recently raided a house and kidnapped the entire family and brought them into the asylum to operate on them. I then heard another voice, a woman. She sounded scared and was begging for mercy. I genuinely was unsettled. Tom had outdone himself and gone as far as to hire voice actors. Then the operations began. The man gave a gruesome, detailed account of what he was doing to each family member. His account was broken by their screams and cries for help. It was only when he started talking about defiling the corpse of a child that I told him to just stop. It was too much for me, and people wouldn't want to hear that. He went silent and didn't say another word. I tried talking to him a couple of times, but got nothing. I think I hurt Tom's feelings. I could tell he had tried hard with the character, and necrophilia aside, he had done a good job. Morning came around and I found myself waking up, not realizing I had drifted off. What woke me was the sound of a car approaching. I made my way out front to find Tom there, his arms crossed with a skeptical look on his face. He asked me if I had a scary time. "Oh, terrifying, you crazy bastard," I responded. He gave me a funny smile and went inside the ward. "Oh, as good as you were," I started. "I spotted your intercom straight away. You might want to try actually hiding it when you're guiding people around."
Intercom? What the fuck are you on about? Were you on drugs last night?
Don't play stupid with me, Tom. You're a psycho character that talked to me all night through that intercom there, I said, pointing. Tom walked over to it and examined it up close.
Mate, this is a vent into the next room.
Number 1. Last week, I had the privilege to talk to a recently released insane asylum patient. He was taken in Iowa and was held for a year until finally being released after being proved sane. I interviewed him recently to get more information for the paper company I work for. This is his story. I was taken in last year for suspicion of murdering my wife and mother. During my court trial, my lawyer pleaded insanity. I didn't really have a say in the matter. The judge granted it, and I was on my way. I arrived on November 17th, 2013. I was driven to this asylum and placed in a small isolated room with a small window. That was the only light I received for weeks. I longed for release, wishing to be let free. After weeks, the guards noticed that I was one of the more obedient inmates. I was inmate number 216, and soon became respected among the guards with my overflowing knowledge. I read my days away in the small but resourceful library, a privilege I earned over time, and was accompanied by a guard who would often engage in small talk. I was almost happy for a man in an asylum. Everything was all right until the construction began across the street, and I noticed it one morning as I awoke and peered out my cubby-like window. I saw a man with a crew drilling into the ground with their jackhammers. I was intrigued when I first encountered the sight with my eyes, and my mind constantly wondered what they could be building. That day, I skipped my reading session and simply watched the men drill all day. I slept with a smile on my face, dreaming of the possibilities. They constantly drilled, day in and day out, until the sound was almost sickening. I prayed for them to stop, but they never did. 76 days they drilled. I remember asking myself, how deep could they possibly need their hole to be? 76 days, I didn't attend my reading sessions. Guards came to check in on me and fed me, guards which I lashed out upon. I began talking to myself, mimicking the drilling sounds. Sometimes, even in my sleep, I was soon feared among the guards, and they checked on me less and less, until they stopped altogether. I was nearly starved to death, until my old reading acquaintance stopped by. I could tell he feared me as he quickly dropped off the food, and was about to scurry away, until I muttered 2 words, "Thank you." It was a whisper, but he heard me and smiled, exiting casually. The next few weeks were different. I was fed and began to read once more. I engaged the guard in small talk once again, and we shared laughs. Things were looking better, and on the date of November 24th, 2014, I was released after being proved mentally competent. I encountered a variety of tests and had to undergo therapy before I was released. The construction was completed and resulted in a small urgent care center. I am now a respectful citizen and am working a job. I have truly turned my life around. The man's story really inspired me, and we talked for a little while after the interview ended. Through our talk, we came across a question that made me uncomfortable and scared. I asked him what he would consider to be his greatest achievement while in the asylum. He answered without a stutter and stared into my eyes. He almost had a sly smile on his face, convincing the guards I was a sane man. Hey guys, Unit 522 here. I want to give a special thank you to Dr. Creepin Von Pasta, Mr. Sinister, Belladonna Black, and Frybro for their outstanding performances in this collaboration. The links to their channels can be found in the description below. As always, thank you so much for watching, and be sure to share, like, and comment. Hit that subscribe button if you're new, and don't forget to follow me on Twitter. And also, never forget, there's always a reason to be afraid.